Wherever you may be, however you may be listening, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Cardinals on SI podcast. I am Donnie Drew, joined every week by the main squeeze, Richie Bradshaw. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, go to comment, like, subscribe to the video. It definitely helps into the channel. Follow Richie on Twitter at RichieBrads36. Follow me on Twitter at Donnie Drew. Richie, I thought today was going to be an ordinary Thursday, and boy,
you thought wrong.
I thought wrong, but what is new in the Druin household? Arizona Cardinals quarterback Sean Murphy-Bunting is going to miss the entire 2025 season. We're going to break it down for what it means in him and everybody else left in the cornerback room in the desert. But how are you, bro?
Donnie, you saw I had to crack a cold one. It's been a long day, a lot of driving back and forth to work, and it's a great way to stay in shape.
Working 9 to 5 like Dolly.
Working 9 to 9.
Except you can't sing anymore. We're going to get copyright if you sing it.
Here's your one chance. Let's see. Don't let me down. We might need to start over.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, start the podcast. Sean Murphy-Bunting placed on the reserve non-football injury list today. Kind of a surprise out of nowhere, my man. So I'm at my desk, I'm working, and then I get a notification, not from Ian Rappaport at first, but from fellow NFL insider Aaron Wilson, who tweeted out, I think the first tweet was like, it was Sean William Bunting that he tweeted out was going on injury reserve, and then kind of like lost in the mix. He also reported that defensive lineman Ben Stilley was being waived. Obviously, that didn't overshadow the big news here. But a couple minutes later, our man Rap Sheet says the Arizona Cardinals have placed quarterback Sean Murphy-Bunting on the reserve non-football injury list, ending his 2025 season before it began. Now, Richie, he's going to miss the entire 2025 season. Nobody knows exactly what happened. There's been a couple thoughts, rumors, reports, all that good stuff. Not going to speculate, not going to do anything of that nature. And I do want to get this out there before we get into it. Nobody should ever be hoping somebody gets hurt. I know a lot of people have had their reservations about Sean Murphy-Bunting as a football player, but definitely not ideal that this man is going to miss the entire season.
No. If you root for injuries against good people, then we're not going to be friends. So, I mean, like, I think everyone was rooting for an injury against Deshaun Watson. That's fine. But, like, Sean Murphy-Bunting is a good dude. And even if you think he's a bad player, that doesn't mean he's a bad person. So, if you were rooting for a guy to get injured,
my interactions with him, for sure.
Right. So, if you were rooting for Sean to get injured, you're not a friend to me. And you can't stick with us.
Ended the season on non-football injury list. And Richie, there's a couple different lists guys can be placed on whenever they are injured. There's like IR. There's another list that's escaping the top of my head, and then there's the NFI. This is what Murphy-Bunting was placed on. So how does the player end up on this specific list, and what does it mean? This is from the Athletic source down at the bottom. It says a player can land on the list if an ailment occurs outside of the realm of an NFL practice or a game, such as a player suffering an injury away from the team's practice facility, personal training, recreational activity, or a vehicle/home incident, long-term illness outside of football, and then if you're a college football player, an injury that occurred during a college season that prevents the player from practicing at the start of his rookie season. These players count against against the team's 90-man roster during training camp. It is important to note that if a player is placed on this list, they must miss a minimum of 4 games. But it sounds like the severity of whatever Sean Murphy-Bunting had happened to him was bad enough to where he's going to miss the entire year. We will get into it in a little bit, but there were reports from outlets such as PHNX and ESPN that said the Cardinals knew about this. The Cardinals knew about this injury before the draft, before free agency, but they wanted to keep it hush-hush. They want to keep it on the low. And I don't blame them, because maybe Will Johnson doesn't make it to the Cardinals at 47 if teams know Arizona needs a cornerback, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way the game is played, Donnie. It's a business. And you need to protect yourself when it comes to that stuff. And I mean, in another sense, I feel like you're protecting Sean as well by not, releasing his medical information.
Sure.
But I mean, at the end of the day, man, it's a business. So you do need to understand that there can be those kind of issues that come aboard. So right, wrong, or indifferent, the Cardinals were just protecting themselves. So
Though I would completely agree, and it's funny because during the draft they took two more cornerbacks, and Richie they went into the offseason and we kind of looked at corners. Well, like we wouldn't be surprised if they grabbed another guy. They brought Asante Samuel Jr. in for a visit during free agency, so it's like okay, like they're doing homework, but they're not really pressed to go get a guy. I think like if we had known about this injury previously, the alarm would have been sounding off for Arizona to go get a guy in free agency before they went and got Will Johnson and Denzel Burke. What's up, broskies? Wonder what led to Bunting getting on the list. Definitely made training camp more interesting. So just like we're talking about now, NFI non-football injury, so it was away from football is probably something he was doing on his own time. I'm not going to speculate. I can't confirm anything personally. But I do think if you're the Cardinals, you can't exactly be happy with
no,
one of your veteran cornerbacks having this happen. Obviously, like he can't control injuries or stuff, but I just think if you're the Cardinals, you really want your guys to not be doing stuff outside of the field. Alex, what's up, brother? Thanks for popping in, checking in on the stream. Oh no, Richie gave you the forks up. Oh,
for
nice.
you, Alex. Love you.
You pissed him off. Way to go. Way to go. So the NFI list is interesting, Richie, because it's very distinctive from the injured reserve list. The main difference being teams don't have to pay base salary if you land on the NFI. It's kind of like, hey, you know what? Like you got hurt away from the facility, regardless of what you were doing. It was away from the team facility. It wasn't football activity related. So you are putting your base salary in jeopardy. And the Cardinals can still pay that $7.6 million. They can still pay it, but they don't have to if they don't want to. And also, I believe it was somebody from overthecap.com that said that guarantees also could be voided with it. But I went and looked at his page on like Over the Cap, and it was the same amount as the
I thought this was a
salary.
Spot Track podcast, so
I like both.
way to play it down the middle.
Is this the end of the road for Sean Murphy-Bunting in Arizona? I wrote an article today. I'm going to link it in the description below after we are done streaming, but I certainly do think so. A lot of people had projected him to be off of the roster regardless of an injury after this year. His PFF coverage grade 53.1, which is 167th out of 222 eligible corners last year. Then according to Pro Football Reference, Murphy-Bunting's 70.7 completion rate when targeted in 2024 ranked the second worst season in his career. Not exactly great. He started 15 games for them last year, got 3 interceptions. Like he was one of the few guys who could take the ball away for Arizona. But I think everybody kind of saw the writing on the wall. What's up, Chase? Thanks for checking us out, brother. And then the last bullet point down here, my man, there's an out in his contract after 2025, courtesy of Spot Track. It says that they can only accrue like a $2 million dead cap hit by cutting him after the 2025 season. I just think the writing was kind of already on the wall, and the season-ending injury just even further puts it on there.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that Cardinal fans had a lot of questions with when they drafted Will Johnson is how quickly is he going to get on the field? Because sure, there's the injury concerns and everything, right? And first of all, the Cardinals had questions about long-term injury concerns. They weren't going to draft him in the second round. So they're totally comfortable with him. But you do have the question of, okay, well, how quickly does he get on the field? Because the slot, the nickel, is locked down. That's Garrett Williams' spot. No one is challenging him for it. But your two outside spots, you really like what you had going into the offseason, which is one of the reasons why we didn't expect to see a heavy investment placed into that, whether it was a free agency signing or a trade or a draft pick. When they drafted Will Johnson with a second round pick, you're kind of sitting there and you're like, oh, well, you have to. Like, it's a crazy value.
It fell in your lap.
Right. You can't not do that. There's all sorts of teams that just have that happen. So the Cardinals just so happen to have a top 10 talent land in the second round for them. So you have to take it. But back to my point, you have Sean Murphy-Bunting on one side, and I understand he didn't have the best season, but he's still a solid veteran corner for a young room. He has intrinsic value. Opposite him, Max Melton really played some strong football down the stretch last year. Starling
Thomas.
I always go to say Starling Marte. Baseball on the mind.
Same place.
Starling Thomas, the fifth. No.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I guess Starling did play for the D-backs for a little bit. So, anyways, dude, this is a football podcast. Stop it. I keep getting distracted. So, you have Sean Murphy-Bunting, you have Max Melton. Starling Thomas was playing some pretty good football, and there was other guys that were going to compete as well. So when you get a yes, absolutely, D-backs mentioned, baby. That's one thing me and you got together. It's just a very interesting situation of like, okay, well, how long can you justify keeping a second round pick off the field? Now you're getting to a point where the narrative is going to completely shift, and you're going to say, how can you keep him off the field? In the sense of like, there's your opportunity.
Yep.
Like, there's really no reason for Will Johnson to not see the field unless he is just not what he is supposed to be. Let's see. Yeah.
It's a Kyler Bird sighting in the chat, by the way. This is the first time it's ever happened, I think.
What is going on, my man? Good to see you. And I 100% agree that'd be my starters as well. I would have Starling as my next guy up, and I'm keeping K-Trail as my backup nickel, and then let's hold on to Denzel and see what we get out of him. AZ, Jace, 100%. Elijah Jones. Keep an eye on him. I don't know if Jaden Davis is going to be on this roster at this point, but, I mean, this front office has shown a major tendency to invest in corner position. 2 picks in their first draft, 3 picks last year, 2 more picks this year. And we didn't think that was going to be a big deal. So, and it turns out that was a good decision.
Yeah,
for them to do. Yes. So, yeah, I love it. I think that if you're going to invest in a position on an annual basis, defensive back is one of the better ones to do it.
Oh, for sure. It's almost like edge rush. You can never have enough in today's modern league.
Nope.
And
just like having a good
Monty option for it. Yep. Now the Diamondbacks mentioned. Crazy. Also, little bone to pick with everybody. My beloved Pittsburgh Pirates are in town next week. I wanted to go see the love of my life, Paul Skeens, on the mound. Wednesday at noon, Richie Bradshaw is when Paul Skeens will be on the bump. Yeah.
Oh.
Do you know what time the Cardinals have their lone media availability for OTAs next week, Richie Bradshaw?
That cough sounds really bad, dude. In fact, I can feel my throat get kind of scratchy too. So
Wednesday at noon. Are you kidding me? Anyways.
Well,
anyways.
Alex, get your stuff, man. You are going on assignment on Wednesday.
Guys, it's been a long time since the Cardinals have been able to field a fully homegrown secondary. Even all the safeties were drafted.
It is all fully homegrown. That's crazy to think, actually.
Some shade. Damn. I did not expect a
CBK, what's going on?
You don't see anyone get hurt. He was not good for us last year in contract. Anyway, it will take reps away from the new kids, our future. That last point, Dr. Savage, I think is interesting because I do think Sean Murphy-Bunting would have started the year as one of the 2 starters on the boundary. I do think eventually Will Johnson would have overtaken him, or Melton, or Starling Thomas, whoever would have emerged from that defensive backfield there. I just think the absence of Sean Murphy-Bunting now just kind of propels Will Johnson into a very good opportunity to not maybe play a little bit more meaningful snaps early on in 2025, but definitely can have a great opportunity at hand. Will Johnson time is actually the next and the last slide. that we have for the very good people. See, like
I don't know
Sterling
what
Thomas
smart
played
is,
good
but I'm
football
gonna
last
call
year.
the cops, dude. You can't just post that online. Always a
Sterling Thomas
player.
played good football last year, man.
He did, dude. I love Sterling Thomas.
Yeah.
So if Will Johnson's not ready to go out the gate, or you want him to earn the reps to get onto the field, I am not mad with Max Melton and Sterling Thomas on either sides of me. Like, that's really not the worst situation in the world. And quite frankly, if and when Johnson supersedes one of them, so it's not guaranteed that Max Melton's going to be the starter, and you're in a good spot. With those three outside and Garrett Williams inside, and Donnie, that is a cheap room. You are not paying a dime for those guys.
Until next year, when you make Garrett Williams the highest paid slot corner in the league, but it's well worth it.
Dan knows ball.
Dan knows ball. Good evening. Every time
James Bradbury. I don't know, man.
I have a hot take. I wouldn't be surprised if they're
you need to bring anyone
with
in.
their core. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they just stuck to their guns with how they are right now.
You know what? Let's stir the pot. Do you call brother? I was high on him all off season. Do you call Miami?
I think the asking price is going to be too high. What's his?
Probably.
Can you look up his spot track numbers really quick for Jalen Ramsey?
Are you sure you don't want me to check over the cap?
Oh, okay, you're fine. Jay says, Will Johnson's knee thing was before 2023. I believe he was the best cornerback in the country that year. I don't think his knee is a short-term thing. He should be good to go. And that was the thing that kind of surprised me, to be honest, man, because we heard so much about Will Johnson's knee and the concern about his longevity moving into the draft process. And that stuff kind of came a little bit later. Like, I didn't hear anything about it at the combine. That came later. And so whenever the Cardinals drafted him and he fell out of the first round, for those who don't know, the Cardinals will host like media at like the team facility for all 3 days of the draft. And after each draft pick, we get to hop on like a conference call with them for like 5 to 10 minutes just to like get a quick interview with them. And we asked him after Johnson got drafted, like, hey, but like, what's up with his knee? And he's like, my knee's been healthy for 2 years. And so I don't know exactly what it is with the knees and the medicals, but it was clearly enough for a lot of teams to say no to him. But on the reverse side of it, Richie, like whenever we talked to Jonathan Gannon, he said they were more than comfortable with the medicals. So go ahead. What's Ramsey's numbers?
So Ramsey just signed a 3-year extension. So his current contract was going to run out at the end of the year. He signed a 3-year, $72.3 million deal. So from 26 to 28, his cap hit is going to be 25, 26.8, 36.168. So that's a lot of money. He's going to be 34 years old in 2028.
No, thank you.
He's a guy that a Super Bowl contender should be calling about. Like, I'm not saying the Cardinals can't get there yet, but we're waiting to see the team get to the playoffs first. But like,
they're not a Jalen Ramsey,
the Ravens, the Bills, the Rams.
Yeah,
those are teams that should give them a call. But it's still fun to throw it out there. Like, can you imagine the Valley if they got the word that the Cardinals traded for Jalen Ramsey for 2 day 3 picks, 2 4th-round picks?
I wouldn't.
2 5ths.
I wouldn't hate that, but man, like,
no, I'm just saying it'd be fun.
No,
so
it would.
I think at the end of the day, you keep your assets and you roll with what you have, especially because, like we just said, you're not paying anything for them.
100%. I agree.
You are in complete
about not
control.
paying. Look at me. Look at me. I'm so serious right now.
How serious is serious?
The hat's frontwards, brother.
You know, I'm with you. No, Donnie, we're serious right now. We are owl exterminators.
The Cardinals cornerback depth without Sean Murphy-Bunting, Garrett Williams, Max Melton, Sterling Thomas, Will Johnson, Denzel Burke, Keitrell Clark. Now, obviously, there's Elijah Jones. One guy who I feel like is under the radar is Darren Hall. I think Darren Hall had a phenomenal preseason last year, and I thought he had a really good training camp. I was pissed whenever they inevitably did not have him on the final 53. I'm excited to see if he can kind of replicate that success too. And the good thing, Richie, is you go down that list of cornerback depth, and you feel really, really good about
You
that.
feel
I think
great.
it's fair to say there's a strength to this unit heading to 2025.
Right. So time out real quick. I want you to pull up Jace's most recent comment involving Miles Jack, because this is exactly the way I have perceived the situation. Is some groupthink has said Will Johnson won't make it to 7 years. Exactly this. The Jaguars spent a second-round pick on Miles Jack, who allegedly had a very similar knee issue long-term. They got 6 or 7 years out of him. I don't have it in front of me, and he was damn good. I don't think the Jaguars regret it. Like, he helped that defense go to an AFC championship game that was a couple of blown leads away from going to a Super Bowl. Like,
was that the team that lost to Tom Brady on that 2-minute drill?
It was. They blew a couple of leads. But
Blake Bortles was the quarterback, wasn't he?
Yeah, they had the man, the myth, the legend, Leonard Floyd, literally carry that team because Allen Robinson tore his. Did I say Leonard Floyd?
Yeah.
I got defense on the mind. That's not like me either, for anyone who knows anything about me. Yeah, that defense was sick nasty, though. Saxonville. But that should be the way you view this.
Yeah.
Is even if you only get 5, 6, 7 years out of them, worst case scenario, right? What if it's 5, 6, or 7 elite seasons? Do you think the Cardinals are going to regret that? I sure don't.
Nah,
elite you seasons, draft players who are good at football and got. I just freak out on you too, or just me?
Nope, definitely freaked out.
Okay. Everyone, can I get an L in the chat, please?
Oh my god, man. Brian come through to say what's up to you.
But man, I woke up this morning, I put the shirt on, I said, I got a feeling. Lombardi Lenny. Classic. Dan knows ball.
So do you think, Richie, as we kind of like start to wrap things up here, do you think Will Johnson perceivably could be the day one starter? I know like there was some thought maybe with Sean Murphy-Bunting in the mix, but like with him out of the room, it just really feels like the road is there for him to not only have an impact from day one, but to be a starter.
No, I agree. Remember, Will Johnson was considered like you got a couple of L's in the chat. I love that.
I saw. Shout out to Minnie.
Hey, Minnie, what's going on? Minnie. What is going on, Minnie the Dinosaur? Starting immediately. Sorry, last track. Adderall must be wearing off. So
yeah, I'm sure.
You have to remember that Will Johnson was at one point in time almost consensusly believed to be a top 10 player, the number one corner in the class. There was a lot of hype around him, and he was banged up last year, and he started dropping, and then you got this knee injury thing that dropped him more. But at no point in time did anyone have worries about him being a good football player.
Right.
Like, maybe he's not going to be long term. Is he going to be bad? No one ever said that. No one ever said he was going to be bad. So he's got all the chance and the opportunity in the world to get onto the field immediately. And me and you like Max Melton. Me and you like Sterling Thomas. I love that Elijah Jones is getting love in the chat right now.
Yep.
None of the guys in the room. And as a massive Garrett Williams fan, I will include him. None of the guys in this room are as gifted and talented as Will Johnson is. The only thing that's going to keep Will Johnson off the field is himself or injuries that are not in his control. So if he's dialed in, he's 100% healthy. He's a week one starter, and there's Pro Bowl potential here. I can see a Marcus Peters rookie season, hopefully with less touchdowns allowed, but you'd love 8 interceptions and some touchdowns.
If they got 8 picks from Will Johnson in his rookie season, just
Are you willing to trade it for 8 touchdowns though? Because that's what happened with
so
Marcus Peters.
we're getting to like Trayvon Diggs territory then.
Brother, it's funny to see how Peters developed later in his career to be like, I don't need to be a gambler all the time. I don't see that from Will Johnson, but I do see a guy with that kind of ball skills.
I'm sure, and
So,
especially with a corner like Will Johnson too, man, like the ball skills that he has and the instinct to break on routes whenever he does, the speed, the athleticism to get there and to beat the receiver to the
right.
catch point, I think it's phenomenal. I also think there is going to be a little bit of a learning curve for a guy like him because
Defensive
this is the
back
NFL,
is
man.
probably the second most difficult position to translate to in the pros after quarterback.
That ball gets there a lot faster than college. And I think Jonathan Gannon said the best a couple of weeks ago when he said
Those guys are bigger, taller, faster.
well, he was asked about the differences between the college and the pro game from a cornerback standpoint. And he's like, look, like if you get beat in college, the player may or may not find you. It kind of just depends. If you get beat in the NFL, they're going to they're going to pick on you right away. Right away.
Right.
Like they're going to see it. And that's not to discourage any Will Johnson promo hype, whatever. I think he's going to be a phenomenal guy. I'm just saying I wouldn't be shocked if it took him just a little bit to learn, hey, like maybe I need to break on this a little bit more. Maybe I shouldn't gamble here. But that's all just going to be part of the learning curve that a stud rookie corner is going to have. And I think it's really exciting when you look at some of the last rookie corners who have really made like a true impact, like Sauce Gardner, Patrick
Let's stop
Surtain,
there.
like
Real quick. Let's stop there. If you go into this season expecting Will Johnson to be Sauce Gardner, you're setting yourself up to fail.
go on.
What Sauce Gardner did as a rookie is historic. Like that almost never happens. So that can't be the standard because hopefully we learned our lesson last year, and I'm talking to myself as well, with placing historic expectations on very talented football players. Because Marvin Harrison Jr. still had a great season, but my goodness, because the expectations we placed on him, and I am one of the most guilty about it, it looked like a bad season. So if you're going into this year expecting Will Johnson, who we've touted on this podcast as a top 10 talent and all sorts of good stuff, and you're expecting him to be Sauce Gardner, you're setting yourself up to fail. Could he? Yeah, absolutely. Marvin Harrison Jr. could have put up amazing numbers, but it didn't happen. That doesn't mean either of them have bad rookie seasons. But please continue. I love that you brought up Sauce because that was something I was going to bring up as well.
Yeah, just like Sauce and Surtain and like some of the other guys, like because we hear so much about how tough it is to make that transition, but we also know like the elite guys can do it and they can make an impact from day one. And not to put any expectations on Will Johnson, but I certainly think he has the capability to do so.
Right. Nope. I agree. And to go back to the Marcus Peters comparison, he had 8 interceptions. That was awesome. He gave up 8 touchdowns. He was very hit and miss. By year 4, year 5, Marcus Peters was a very well-respected, don't throw at that guy kind of corner. And that could be the trajectory for Will Johnson. Maybe he does come out as a rookie and he gets beat a little more than he would like, but he shows off the good stuff. Well, year 3 or year 4 rolls around. If it's that same trajectory, now Will Johnson is the, if you can avoid throwing his direction, you should avoid throwing his direction kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. So would completely agree. And I think what I like about Will
Jace
Johnson
is on it again.
that,
Jace is on it again because Derek Stingley was another guy I wanted to bring up. And funny enough, Stingley also was dealing with injuries. And now look at him. He's one of the highest paid corners. He was a Pro Bowler last year. I think Derek Stingley is what you hope from Johnson. But Stingley also is just God-given talent. That dude was a freshman at LSU locking down Jamar Chase the year before he went pro. That's how good he is.
What I like about Johnson too is that like he's not just like a zone guy. He's not like a man guy. Like the Cardinals play a lot of cover 3. I think that's almost perfect for him. For a guy to play that boundary cover 3 role, to be able to either read and react to a guy breaking in on the inside or having to have the athleticism to keep up with a guy running behind you on the sideline. His ball skills are phenomenal. Like athletically, like he's not the fastest straight line speed guy is what it is. But
That's
overall,
tough.
like he's just a damn good football player, man. And that's exactly what the
Yes.
Cardinals need. That's exactly what the Cardinals needed in their secondary, like with or without Sean Murphy-Bunting.
You read my content. There was something I obnoxiously said throughout the offseason. Something along the lines of, I love the room. They need an alpha. And I said it so much that whenever I would type it, I rolled my eyes. But I'm not wrong. And now they've got the alpha. You've got that dog in the secondary, the one who makes everyone else around him better. Not the best example because he was also a really good player, but look at how great Antonio Cromartie was with the Jets because Darrell Reeves was opposite him. Here's a better example. How many corners from Seattle got paid big bucks because they played opposite Richard Sherman? Brandon
Handful.
Browner, Byron Maxwell. It's not that they were bad. That's how good Sherman was that they got better. Will Johnson can do that for you. Will Johnson can be so good that Max Melton turns into an all-pro. And you're like, holy cow, I didn't know he had that in him. He did, and I'm not discrediting it. But it wouldn't be a coincidence that some of those guys take giant leaps forward because of Will Johnson.
No,
He's
I
that
would
kind
agree.
of guy who
When
will
you
make
have,
everyone better.
I think you said this best a minute ago when you said Will Johnson basically has like the highest ceiling out of
Yes.
anybody in the quarterback room. And if he can hit that ceiling, that's only going to elevate the other guys in the
Mm-hmm.
room. And, it's going to help the pass rush. It's going to help guys like Buda Baker and Jalen Thompson, like everybody. And I mean, like CBK hints it out right here, like
Yep.
the improved front
That
seven. Like,
improved
and
front
that's
seven.
what I love about this offseason defensively for the Cardinals is that they improved that front seven so much, and everybody is caught up, and rightfully so, on their ability to control the game in the trenches, to get after the quarterback. That's going to help the secondary so much. That is legit going to help their secondary night and day different be better in 2025.
I want to pose this to the chat. Which do you think, not so much is more important, I guess, which would you rather have? An elite secondary and an average front seven, or an elite front seven and an average secondary? It's up to you to choose. The Cardinals have a chance to get really close to both.
Yeah, I was going to
That
say, it feels like
secondary, especially, Donnie. Oh my goodness.
the front
That's
seven
a
too, man.
scary
If they
secondary.
can, if people play to their potential and they can figure out that second inside linebacker spot next to Mac Wilson,
Right.
it could be Keem Davis Gaither, it could be Cody Simon. Just don't really know. We'll see. We'll see. So,
I'm taking
uh,
Baron Browning for a breakout until further notice. So I
yeah.
will plant that flag now on May 22nd. I've mentioned it in a few articles. I'll plant the flag now. Baron Browning breakout season.
Really quick, but before we get out of here, what do you like as a nickname for Will Johnson? There's Agent Zero or there's Sub Zero?
So Agent Zero, I've seen before.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty positive Ravens fans call Roquan Agent Zero. Like
Gotcha.
it's one of those nicknames where it's like so easy to give to guys. You want something that is a little more unique. I've
I think
never
Sub
heard
Zero's
someone
a
called
sick
Sub Zero.
nickname. I think
I've
Sub Zero's a
never heard
sick
someone
name.
called Sub Zero before. Sub Zero is pretty sweet. Now, especially if you can have him start to embrace like the ice cold kind of thing
I'll
to
say
go
what's
with
what's the
it.
celebration Sub Zero does in Mortal Kombat, or like the finishing move?
I mean, he takes off someone's top part of their body and kind of holds it up by the bone that holds it together, trying not to get us canceled.
How,
So,
I was like, would it be like after a pick, he just wipes his face mask and then
dude, can
like
you
cover it up
imagine
like
just
that?
like holding the ball up like you're Sub Zero after a fatality?
Bro, think of the Instagram
I
captions
need you to tell him
after the game. It could say finish him.
they finish him.
Player one wins.
Player one wins. Flawless victory.
The ozone. I haven't heard that one before. Interesting.
Ozone? Okay. Lay,
Ozone.
what's going
Yeah.
on? Thanks for dropping in. Ozone. Okay.
Because it's
Yeah,
layered.
it is layered. I think that there's potential here. The other thing, I don't like forcing nicknames for guys. But Sub-Zero, come on, man. Gilbert
Zero
Arenas.
was popular with Gilbert Arenas.
It was. See, that's my thing. It's a cool nickname. I've heard it before. I've never heard someone be called Sub-Zero.
Yeah. Easy
It's like
Halloween
when
costume.
it's back when Ball Hawk was a nickname and not a term.
True.
Like now we throw around Ball Hawk to describe someone. Back in the day, God, like I know Ed Reed was called the Ball Hawk.
Mhm.
I'm sure Dion was called the Ball Hawk at some point in time. Well, he was prime time. He had all sorts of stuff. Neon Dion. But Ball Hawk went from a nickname to a term. I just want something that's unique. And Sub-Zero is pretty unique, man.
That is.
I'm
If
kind of
anything else
all
to
in on
add,
holding the football up like a fatality now. I'm kind of all
I
in on
have to
that.
bring it up to him. If I will be surprised because Will Johnson doesn't come off like he likes Mortal Kombat. I'm going to talk to him. The next time I see him, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to be like, hey, man, like, I don't know if you know, but like, word on the street is Sub-Zero is kind of your new nickname. I don't know if you like it, but like, you probably embrace it.
Icy, baby. Ice cold in his veins. You're not throwing it at the dude with the ice in his veins.
True. Any
Matty
thoughts on
Ice, but
Sean
he don't choke.
Murphy-Bunting and Will Johnson before we get out of here?
I'm sorry. I was talking when you were talking. What were you saying?
I'm so used to it. Do you have any thoughts on Will Johnson or
What
Sean
did you say? I'm
Murphy-Bunting
sorry. I
before we get
couldn't
out
hear
of here?
you. I love the sound of my own voice. That's why I do podcasts. Closing thoughts. I mean, it's a bummer that Sean Murphy-Bunting is out. I did truly believe he had intrinsic value to the defense and to this team because of being a veteran. And he's not a horrible player. He didn't have a good season, but you don't look at him and you go, that's a liability. You go, you know what you got, kind of thing. You don't like not having that guy in the room. It is a really exciting thought that your entire secondary is homegrown, because that was not something I thought about before. Now I am. And how young it is. But that also could lead to some problems of not having guys who have been in the room or been in the league, excuse me, longer than 3 years. It is important to have that veteran back there for the corner position. Yeah, Buddha's there. Buddha can help him out. Buddha doesn't play corner.
Well,
So,
exactly. Just so more like the cornerback room, man. Like he's 7 years of experience under his belt. Nobody who's projected to make the 53-man roster has more than like 3.
right.
Like you're looking at like Ketro Clark is like the next veteran in line in that room.
Yep.
And like that's no slander towards Ketro like at all, but
Right.
clearly not 7 years. And like people forget Sean Murphy-Bunting was a big part of that Buccaneers Super Bowl run a couple years back.
I think a lot of people forget that Sean Murphy-Bunting, Carlton Davis, and Jamel Dean.
That was a good secondary, man.
Ask
Wow.
ask a football fan, casual football fan, if they know who any of those 3 are. But yeah, those 3 were ridiculously good when they got to play together. And then you had Anton Winfield Jr. behind him. Made sure you had to add the junior. Jordan Whitehead was back there. Donnie, that was a good secondary, and I don't think a lot of people talk about it because of how great that front 7 was. When you had Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett and all that good stuff, maybe history repeats itself. I'm here to manifest it. Josh Sweat gets his 12 sacks as the team's Jason Pierre-Paul, and then yeah, dude, that's so tough.
But like
And then
speaking
we
of
get to the Super
originality, like
Bowl.
I love that sack celebration, man.
Yes, dude, it's the best. It's the best, and it's natural.
You know, if they brought
It's a great
Hassan
way to stay
Reddick
in
back
shape.
for it is. If they brought Hassan Reddick back, I would have been a big fan of the gladiator celebration that he does. That's so sick. All right. Will
That's
Johnson
my
definitely has
favorite Gerard Butler movie.
Will Johnson definitely has an opportunity to have maybe a bigger role, at least out of the gates, than a lot of people would have thought with Sean Murphy-Bunting now missing the entire 2025 season. Placed on the NFI list, his time in Arizona kind of looks like it's done. We don't know officially. The team has not confirmed anything, by the way. The Cardinals haven't put out an official statement or press release or anything. So these are all just reports until we actually know it. But with a guy like Ian Rappaport putting it out there, kind of is what it is. Anything for the people before we get out?
I love Lamp. I love Lamp.
Do you really love the lamp? Or are you just saying that?
I love Lamp.
Let's get out of here. For Richie Bradshaw, I am Donnie Drew, and thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Cardinals on SI podcast. Follow Richie on Twitter at RichieBrads36. Follow me on Twitter at Donnie Drew, and thanks everybody for popping in. Enjoy the night, and we'll see you guys.